It's Saturday, April 29th, and we're back up here. Oh, you want to go grab those hoses? Where are those at? We're back up. We've got our hoses came in from, I can never remember, Aircraft Specialty Flight Lines. We got those in, and we'll put them over on the table. I'll show you here in a second. But so we're gonna initially get those installed. Probably won't get them tightened down today, but we'll at least get them in and see where we're going to route those and whatnot. Also looking at maybe finalizing that install of the fuel servo in there. We just have plain nuts on there now. We'll use switch that out for the other nuts that hold it on and get that done. I did have a question about how far those studs need to go in to the oil sump, and I had contacted Rands on that, and they said 7 threads at least, and I looked, and that's where we're at with that. I think we're 8 threads in, but we've got those installed correctly, and so we can final install that servo. But yeah, that's what we're going to get started with and see what else we get done. And here are the hoses that we ordered from I wish I could remember the name of this, Aircraft Specialty Flight Lines. We got these hoses here. These are for the pressure sensor manifold. We've got an oil pressure, a fuel pressure, and a manifold pressure, and then this is the fuel line that goes from the mechanical fuel pump up to the inlet to the fuel flow transducer. And along with that, we got a T-fitting to swap out the outlet of the fuel pump. So the fuel pressure will connect to this side of it, and then this fuel line will connect on the bottom and go out, and that'll feed into the transducer. All right, working away at some hose routing here, and really having a heck of a time with some of these oil cooler hoses, or I should say with these oil cooler hoses. But I did a 45 on here. You may have seen in a previous video we did 45s on each side of the oil cooler, and I think we had them face down. Is that how we had those?
Originally we had them 40.
Had them down like this.
Angled a little bit, yeah.
And then the hose came up and went around, and it passed right in between this right here. This way, the way we did this now is I flipped this 45 up and routing it down this way. It's not hitting anything at all. I think we'll tie it onto this engine mount right here. We'll clamp it in there. The other problem child is this one here. We had the 45 on. We ended up swapping this back out to a straight fitting and then ran it straight up, and in between the engine mount and the engine right here, so we'll likely clamp it here, but that leaves us clearance for the hose that goes between the baffling and the oil cooler. The other thing that I did was I switched out that fitting. This is the lower fitting for the oil cooler, and that's a 45 that came from the factory that way. I switched it to a 90, and that seemed to help quite a bit with fitment on this hose. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and we're gonna put these other hoses in. We've got that manifold pressure hose. We've got an oil pressure hose that's going to go right there, and they'll pass over to that manifold pressure, or the sensor, pressure sensor manifold. So we'll get going on that and see what we get. No, wait, no. Had to take our sensor manifold out. I needed to change this fitting where the fuel pressure comes up. With the 45 on there and the way where we have it in position on the firewall, the engine mount comes right past here, and there's no way I could get this hose. This hose wouldn't fit right around that that mount. So I decided to swap this out for a straight fitting. That's fine, that'll work. But did that, so it was easier, much easier to pull this out and do that. And yeah, so we'll put it back in now. Well, it's absolutely gorgeous day today. The wind's blowing a little bit, as you can probably hear, but super nice day. We've had the hangar door open all day, and it's gorgeous. All right, we're done for the today, and we have a special guest in the hangar coming over to visit us. Done for today, and just pretty much worked on getting these hoses routed back here, and I think we've kind of got it, hopefully got it nailed down. I did end up rotating this fitting just a little bit, outlet from the fuel pump, so that it would clock this hose around just slightly, and then we could get the fuel pressure hose coming up behind it. And we did end up swapping that fitting out. We've swapped it from a 45 to a straight fitting there, and that seems to be working pretty well. So we did that. And what else? We've kind of got this stuff trial fit. We did stick the mixture cable through, and we kind of fit the mixture cable up. I wanted to make sure we weren't interfering with this hose here. It looks like that's going to be okay. I'm gonna have to figure out something with this hose right here. It sits against this exhaust support, so I think maybe we can just tie that in there, hose clamp it in maybe. I'm not sure. And these are the things I'm not 100% on, and probably need to do some more studying and probably ask a few more questions. Also, when we bring our hoses through here, this is manifold pressure and this is oil pressure. Got them routed back through here, and they're just kind of running together, so I'm not sure if we can just do like a grip lock tie on there, and that's those plastic, those padded zip locks, or if that needs to actually be clamped down with something. It looks like it's hitting the fuel pump here on the camera, but it's not. It's clearing it by probably about a ½ inch or so. And let's see, what other hoses do we have? Oh, I was thinking about wondering if we could tie it onto this hose here. If we could tie these two hoses here, but how to get that done, I'm not 100% sure on. And I said earlier, I think I showed we swapped this fitting back out. We did have a 45. We had this 45 fitting. Had it on here too. We swapped that back to a straight fitting so that we can route that hose up there. We'll probably end up clamping that hose onto this part of the engine mount, and that one goes pretty good. This hose this isn't on here tight. This is actually going to be down. We're going to route it down like this. and then we'll clamp it on here, and that frees up this area for the hose that goes from the baffling down to the oil cooler. That frees that up. We've got the manifold pressure hose going here, and that's going to clamp on to this tube. We've got, we don't have it clamped yet, but we've got 2 clamps here. We're going to do that to support that hose. But yeah, so pretty much that's what we did today, was get this all fit up, trying different fittings, swapping them out, trying different angles, rerouting the hoses, just trying to get this all to fit well. So I think, oh, I had talked about doing the fuel servo, bolting that in, or yeah, putting that in. We didn't get that far, so that's still just temporarily attached there. And what else? That's about it. Okay. Talking about possibly moving over to put the panel in. I think we're going to start prepping to do that. Because we've got all the wiring from the engine. We need to start getting that done before we really finalize these hoses. I want to get all the wiring in there before we get done with that, or before we do that final fit up of those hoses. So yeah, I don't know. We'll be back up tomorrow. It's going to be another gorgeous day tomorrow. So we'll be back up and figure out what we're going to do, and well, we'll see. So anyways, hey, thanks for watching. Have a great evening, and that's it for now.